Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Awesome Walkers. It's been a long time since we have had one of these. And every time I meet a personality where I feel conversing with that person would bring value to the community, I would always invite them and have a wonderful chat to learn, explore, learn. Today we have Wendy Shaw coming in, joining us all the way from Dubai, just where I am. Welcome, Wendy.
Hi, Samir. How are you?
Wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just wondering if you're wearing odd socks today.
No, I'm just being odd today, maybe, I guess.
Oh, no.
No, not yet. But are you?
No, I'm not wearing any socks today.
I could say I'm wearing a socks actually, but it doesn't make any difference because of COVID. All the socks goes away, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, I still remember very well the conversation that we had a couple of years ago while we were sitting on bean bags and we were talking about
Absolutely.
and I
Yeah.
remember very lovely conversations we are having. We're talking about your cousin, we're talking about yourself, we're talking about your journeys. Yeah. How has life
Yeah.
been with you?
Yes, COVID was interesting, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's good. It's tested me in many different ways. It's made me reflect. It's made me stop and breathe a lot. And it's made me sort of use mBraining a lot more just to be okay in myself. So I use it for wellnessing really on a daily
Mm.
basis. You know, connecting with my heart, how am I feeling right now, what's important to me, but also with connecting with other people. So I think it's been an interesting time to sort of do some inwards reflections as well as see all of this craziness in the world. Yeah.
I want to go a little deep on that, but before I do that, I just want to touch on the fact that you're one of the first people who were teaching NLP in the region, right? You brought NLP along
I,
with them.
yes, I was teaching NLP with Carol Talbot way back in 2006. I joined her.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And she taught me 2005 was her first NLP practitioner. So, yeah,
Hmm.
going back quite a long way.
What drew you into this whole world of self development and self growth and personal development? What was it that pulled you into this whole world?
Well, I guess my background, I think I shared with you previously. I started as a chef and then I damaged my lower back. So I was horizontal for a couple of years and really had to change my career and got into training. So, training in hospitality, sort of catering back in the UK, and then started working in hotels as training manager. And then when I moved to Dubai, I was hotel training manager at Crown Plaza Dubai. And then I was area training manager for Intercontinental Hotels Group. So that's kind of my background. So yes, I've been sort of learning for lots of years because there's always more to learn. 2001, I was introduced to this concept called NLP. And I remember feeling a mixture of emotions. Sort of a lot of it felt very familiar to me because it's all about communication and being positive and, you know, what you say to yourself inside of your head. So it was reassuring in one way because it felt familiar. And I also felt cross thinking, why didn't I, why wasn't this taught when I was at school? Because it's really life skills. So, you know, hitting 30, and then it's like, but I've needed this all my life. I've kind of had it, but didn't know what it was. So, yeah. And from then, as I said, I did my NLP practitioner certification with Carol Talbot. I also did my master NLP in 2006. I've done the NLP coach certification. I went off and did trainers training in NLP, timeline therapy, and hypnosis. So yeah, for lots of years, I was really sort of consumed, sort of applying NLP and teaching NLP and loving NLP. So
Hmm.
I think it was end of 2014. That's kind of when I started becoming aware that, what next? What next? I knew there was something else that I needed to explore. So when I heard about there was a new training coming out about the head, the heart, and the gut, and I just thought, oh, that sounds interesting. And then with Matrix Training Solutions, we were sort of working and bringing the trainer over. So we were involved with the marketing of it. And I don't know about you, Samir, but if I'm investing in my own personal development, I want to know, who is this person? What is it I'm going to learn? What's the objectives? And I want to do lots of research. But literally, I saw this email and I just thought, right, I've got to pay. And I literally reserved my seat on the spot, which was unusual for me. So I did the 4-day coach certification program for mBraining way back 2014, I think so. And then I was just day 4. It's like, where do I go next? And I literally signed up for trainers training before I finished the course. So yeah. So I was the first person in the UAE. One of I call him my learning twin. He's based in Oman. He's done all of the programs I've done and probably lots more as well. But he's taken all of it to trainer level and he's in Oman. So sort of on the trainers training, it was really, come on, we're going to co-deliver this. And we still haven't got there. So but he is involved in the kind of mBraining Middle East community.
Okay.
But sorry?
Okay, I said okay. Yeah, I didn't say anything.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's still very involved, but I call him my learning twin. So, yes, I was the first. And 2 of my coaches that I have trained have gone on to become trainers as well. So, yeah, it's
what is this philosophy of the head, the heart, and the gut being aligned? What is it really about?
Well, coming from, if people are familiar with NLP, so Neuro Linguistic Programming, how we think, what we say, what we do. And NLP is all based on modeling excellence. So how is it some people are really good at something, and NLP sort of breaks that down into what that person sees, what they hear, what they feel, and what they say to themselves. So looking at 3 of our 5 senses. So 2 NLPers, so the founders of mBraining, they were curious to find out, well, okay, what you see, what you hear, what you feel. What about smell and taste, our other 2 senses? And Grant Susely started researching. And, there's a lot of neuroscience evidence and a lot of information out there now that tells us that we have an intelligence in our heart. So our heart links to smell. And there's also a lot of research and evidence findings now about the intelligence of our gut, and our gut links to taste. So the more they discovered, they realized that nobody had put together the head brain, the heart brain, and the gut brain. So that's really what his work was all about. And it started off with a book. The mbraining.com website has got interviews, research, so much information up there. And I think for me, they provided a coaching modality for how to work with people to explore all 3 brains, but also how to get them aligned, congruent, and working together. Because I'm sure, I think most people have experienced times when your head says one thing, but your heart wants something else. Or deep down, your gut is saying, no, don't do it, don't do it. It's giving us this information, it's communicating. And are we listening is the first step. So yeah, the coach certification program it's a 4-day program, and really exploring how to use this with other people.
So is the gut the subconscious mind and the head, the conscious mind? Is it something like that, or is it different?
Yeah, I think the way I look at it, because other people will distinguish the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the unconscious mind.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I came from the background of, you've got your conscious mind and your unconscious mind, so just working with the two. What we're aware of, what we're saying to ourselves consciously, and everything else that's going on is unconscious. So further research with mBraining, although the coach cert focuses on the head, the heart, and the gut, the master coach certification explores two other brains. And one is the autonomic nervous system. So that's everything in between the head, the heart, and the gut. And also the pelvic intelligence. So yeah, there's a lot more, and it can go a lot deeper. So I don't know how to answer your question, but the answer's probably.
All right. You said you create an alignment or congruence between how the head, the heart, and the gut operates. So what you're saying is sometimes there is a disconnect?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And what is the reason for the disconnect?
It's it's kind of being human. We depend a lot on our head. We try and make sense of everything. And so our head is very good at our cognitive perceptions, making meaning. So we create our own narrative around things. So we make up these stories. And they may or may not be true, but that's how we make sense of things for us. At the heart level, it's more about how we connect with other people, but our values sit in our heart. So, we can think something, but is it really truly important to us? If it doesn't align with our values, then there could be a disconnect. And then our gut, well, this links to identity, who we deeply are. It's also about safety, protection, and also about taking action, moving forwards or not. So we can know what to do at the head level. It may or may not be important to us at heart level, but if we don't take action, we'll label that procrastination. We know what to do, it's important, we don't do it. Or we know what to do, we don't take action because it's not important to us. And then you've got the other type of people who's like think, do. There's no heart in what they're doing. They're not loving what they're doing. They're not connected and engaged with it. They're just more robotic. Think, do. So, yeah, there's ways that our three brains, our head, heart, and gut, can work against each other or out of alignment. If you think about it, Samir, if you've got three people working together, there are ways that they can work effectively, and there's ways that they can work ineffectively, or...
That is putting it nicely. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So it could be that one of them shouts over the others and dictates what to do. So that could be any of the three brains. It could be that one of them starts doing the job of one of the others. It might be that one of them just sort of stands back and, no, I'm not engaging in this. So they're not partaking. So there are actually 5 what we call constraints of how they can be ineffective. So we can work out how they are misaligned and then sort of check in with them, open up the communication and start. It's a bit like negotiation skills. So, what does your heart truly need and where can that come from? And then working with each of them until you get that alignment. So, yeah, fascinating.
So when people are operating from their standpoint, they could be using either one of them or 2 of them or 3 of them, right? Or because there is no alignment, either the head, the heart, or the gut would dominate over the others. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely.
And which one usually dominates?
I think looking at the world today, especially in the business environment, we're very head-based. So if we link it to business, businesses are in the business of making money. KPIs, strategies, we have heads of department, we have headquarters, we have head office, and it's all very head-based. It's all results-driven, bottom line, and making money. So in an organization, the head of an organization is up here. They may or may not know what's going on with the heart of the organization is more the people. So that could be team leaders, it could be human resources, L&D, training, some supervisors, some team leaders, but the people that keep the communication flowing between what the business is all about and making sure the people are okay. And then the guts of an organization would be the workforce, the people who are actually delivering the product and services. So they're the ones doing. So if you look at an organization, how effective is the communication between them? If a decision is made at head level, how is that impacting the gut level in terms of what people are doing? There can be many ways of disconnecting between them. And if at the gut level, go on.
I was just having a thought over here. When it is women led organizations, I think she becomes the heart of the organization rather than the head of the organization.
Oh yeah, women, I think, naturally have more connection at heart level. What a big part of a woman's role is to become or to be a mother. So we've got that nurturing kind of more inbuilt than I guess the guys do. So we can connect usually. I'm not going to say everybody, but usually we can connect with how people are feeling. And guys can be much more head-based, and they can help with problem solving, but not necessarily how people are feeling about it. So yeah, we're good that way.
And how does someone who is a male, for example, let's say, exercise being more heart driven, let us say, and also start being more empathetic? Or if empathy or empath is not the model of the guy by default, but he's starting an organization, he wants to take care of his people and he wants to do well, rather than just be head based, understanding how to be as well heart based, and then bringing in the nurture mindset. Sorry, mindset again is the head based.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to building the relationship, getting to know your people, but also taking the time to check in with them. What's important to them? What are their values? What drives them? What motivates them? Because when you understand what motivates people, you can get a more of an insight into who that person is and how you can better connect with them. It could be, how many CEOs of organizations actually know the names of the husband, the wife, the kids, of the people that they spend most of their working day with. Because if they haven't got that connection, they're not really investing in getting to know that person outside, that whole person, rather than just inside the business. So yeah, so checking in with people, I'd say putting yourself into other people's shoes is a great way of trying things on. What's that like for them? And I think with the mental health and wellness is a huge topic right now. Checking in with people, are they okay? But really meaning that and stopping and listening and encouraging them to sort of open up and share and answer and be okay to say they're not okay. I think that's a huge one nowadays. So
yeah, just this morning I was actually reading an article on LinkedIn on a terminology that I am hearing for the first time, which is compassionate layoff. how you lay off people, and they're laying off people in huge numbers these days. 500s, thousands, the tech companies, and some of them do it with a lot of compassion. Some of them do it with absolutely no, uh, you know what I mean, no heart
Yeah.
over there at all.
Just
There's
cut
no
the
heart.
tie, that's it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me, going back to my corporate life, based in the hotel, any employees, when they were leaving, they had to, get a sign off from the training department for any training materials they might have. I always knew when people were leaving because they'd come and ask for, certificates. But I'd always check in with them and sort of say, okay, so where are you off to next? Some people were sort of moving back home, some people were moving on to another job. And so there were times when people would say, oh, I've been fired, Miss Wendy. And it's like, oh, okay, so what have you learned? What are you going to learn from this role that you can take to the next role? So where are you going from here? So rather than sort of feeling, oh, that's not very nice, I shouldn't have said anything, it was always checking in with them to see that they're okay. And I'm so glad I did, because there was one guy who, remember years ago there was the earthquake, and we had Intercontinental Hotels Group collecting for employees that had been impacted by the earthquake. Sri Lanka had been really badly hit. It was the Boxing Day one. And so one of our chefs sort of came and I had the conversation. I said, so where are you going to? And he said that he was going home, and the impact of this earthquake, he'd lost family members, he'd lost his home, he'd lost so much. My heart just kind of bled for him. But it gave me the opportunity to get his contact details and say, look, I know the company is organising something. Let me make sure that, you are on the list and that, you're on the radar. So I did. And for some reason, he wasn't on the list. So I spoke to the VP of HR at that time and sort of said, look, this is the situation. It was like, absolutely. And I think it took him a couple of months for the money to actually reach him. But it made such an impact on his life. And he would message me sort of saying, Miss Wendy, thank you so, so much. You've changed my life. It's like, no, I just had a conversation and cared enough to make sure that the right people knew your situation. And, I took his home address and his bank details. So if somebody said, oh, we don't know how to get it to him, I know how to do that. So it's having that interest into humans, I guess. It's caring enough to be asking those questions. How are you, and what's next for you? So, yeah.
I liked one part of the article which said, don't feel bad for them. Don't make it about you. Make it about them completely, and see what is it that they can do. So what you're saying over here is absolutely completely keeping the focus on them and not yourself, and feeling sad, feeling sorry. No, it's about, what are you learning? What are you going to do? How are you going to help?
What's this an opportunity for? Yeah. I think, I've never had sort of a strong career path. I've always been, as long as I love what I do, I will keep doing it. And when I start getting a bit bored, it's like, okay, right, what's next? What's next? So I look for whatever opportunities are available at that time. So I do believe that losing your job is not the end of the world, unless in your head you decide it is. And then that's going to stop you from being at your best. I was actually talking to a really good friend of mine. He's recently resigned from his role. He realized that some environments can become a bit toxic, and he wasn't happy going to work. And he realized that he was working so hard and so much and such long hours in something that he was no longer passionate about, and he realized he'd become more and more negative. And it was just like, no, he needed to resign. And it was just the relief of that. And it's like, right, I need to take care of myself. So, focusing on things that he wanted to do. What did he value at heart level? But it's also the gut taking action and doing things, getting himself out there. But chatting to him, he went for an interview, and he said that although the interviewer was very impressed and it looked positive, he reflected on who he was being, and he said, I wasn't being me. I wouldn't recruit me. I wouldn't offer me a job because I just seemed so flat. So this is why I love mBraining so much, because once you get your head, your heart, and your gut, once you have that awareness and get them working together, it's really about being you. How are you doing you? So how is Wendy Wendying right now? So is my heart sort of in the game? Is my gut happy? And am I being true to myself? And then making sense of that in terms of how I talk, in terms of the language I use, in terms of what I will do, what I won't do. So it's about creating some boundaries as well.
Does our diet play a role in our gut intelligence?
Does our what, sorry?
A diet, what we eat.
Diet. Oh, there's that saying, you are what you eat. Yes. I believe so, because if you think about, there are some foods that I eat because I like the taste of them, but they don't make me feel good. My energy drops afterwards. And there's loads of neuroscience now around the microbiome in our gut and how that impacts, our health. So if you're walking around and you're feeling bloated all day, does that impact how you do you? Does that impact how you make decisions and how you live your life? Absolutely. Absolutely. Dr. Odie, he's written a book called Eatology. And I love it because it ties in really well with mBraining. So Eatology is, my key takeaways from it, are we eating when we're hungry, when our gut says I'm hungry, or are we eating when we're mungry? And I was brought up saying, oh, it's tea time, it's breakfast time, it's lunchtime. So I've been programmed to eat by the clock. So I would eat because of the time rather than because I was hungry. So when I adopted the Eatology method, the first thing to do is to fast and wait for my belly to say, I'm hungry, feed me. 3 days. 3 days. I mean, I was drinking water, drinking coffee, and just thinking, should I eat something? It's like, I'm not really hungry because I'm listening to my gut, not my head. So it was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And it's, as Odie says, it's like having a car. You don't fill up with petrol every time you pass a petrol station because it's there. You fill it up when the dial goes down and you need petrol. So yeah, some great insights there. And I see how it sort of blends and merges really well with taking care of yourself, which is what, mBraining is all about.
Let me give you a scenario. I'll pick the scenario that you shared where a person who is in a job and he wants to quit. And his heart says, my heart is not in this job. I don't enjoy it. I don't. And his gut is, constantly he's feeling sick and all that stuff. But his head says, you got to have a job. And if you don't have a job, you're not going to be able to pay your EMIs and you're not going to be able to live in Dubai and you don't have another job offer on the table. And then he listens to this and he skips what his heart says. And this is, I think, 90% of Dubai, right? Majority of the people across the world are this. How do you manage or navigate around a situation where you have the awareness that, yes, I have to do things which is logically right because I have responsibilities and I have these things, even though my heart says and I accept it, I acknowledge it, I understand it, even though my body is falling sick, I can see that, but what's the way forward? Logically, if I don't keep this, then. So two questions, two parts over here. One is, how do you manage this when it happens? The second is, how do you prevent this from happening early on, uh, from the time you're a kid, or from the time you're a teenager, or from the time you're really a person who is going to get into career? What is it that you exercise on a regular basis so that you can avoid such situations? But also, if you are already in this situation, then what do you do about it?
Okay. All right. So going back to the first part, yes, we talk ourselves into keep doing something that we hate doing, or we're just not feeling great about. But at a head level, it makes sense. It's better to have a job than to not have a job. And it makes sense. But actually, security comes from the gut. So if your heart's not in it, and you can live your whole life being a zombie, getting up each day, going to a job that you don't like, and then coming home at the end of the day tired because you've it's just taken all of that energy doing a job that you dislike, and then you live for the weekends. I mean, how sad a life is that? By leaving that job, your gut kicks in, wanting this need for safety and security. You take a lot more action looking for a new job. You will do a lot more when you don't have that job to go to. So it's a conflict going on between. But the important thing really is to check in with your heart and get clear on your values. So finding a company where your values align with their values and purpose. A company where you're doing something that you feel is worthwhile. You have a purpose, you have a role to play, you connect well with the team, you feel good about what you're doing and your reasons why you're doing it. So, it could be who you're serving, it could be the clients, it could be the knowledge you're providing, whatever it is. So, yes, if you're not happy, then there's a disconnect going on here. And happiness is a state.
So what I'm hearing is this: we got to listen to the heart over the head. Is that what you're saying?
The heart should lead, not rule.
So who should rule?
The head wants to rule because it makes sense. I know so much. But the heart should lead.
The heart should lead, the head should take a decision. And process it.
The head should listen to what's important to you at the heart level, and then sort of bring that into gathering knowledge. How can I move forward on this? Your head's all about creativity. So what are all the things that I could possibly do that's going to move me into a space that's going to make my heart happy? And then the gut is about the courage to take action.
Let me give you another scenario. Another scenario is, so when it comes to jobs, we have
I haven't answered the second bit, so remind me of that. Keep going.
Okay, proceed with the second answer. Then I will ask my next question.
Okay, the second answer is what? How do you prepare yourself? I think something that we need to be aware of is that we've all been programmed based on our upbringing. So based on our childhood experiences, we learn from our parents, we learn from, if it's religion, school teachers, but the people that we're hanging out with, this is where we role model and this is where our beliefs come from. So I think I've shared this with you before. I always feel very lucky because I had a really positive grandmother and a really negative grandmother. I had kind of one of each. So one of them would always focus on the doom and gloom, and she was always on medication, and it's raining, and this is a problem, and that's a problem, and this bill's coming, and that was what she focused on. And my other grandmother was always positive. Oh, the sun's shining, life is great, and all these amazing things. And the reason why I became so aware of it was really because writing a letter to them, thank you for my birthday present or whatever, And to my nanny, it was, oh, I'm struggling at school and it's been raining, and that's what I was telling her. And the very same day, I'm writing to my granny saying, oh, this is great and that's wonderful. And I looked at these 2 letters thinking, have I got a split personality? But no, I was connecting with them based on my experience of them. So I feel quite lucky to have that awareness. But we grow up, whatever the environment we grow up in, that is our normal, what we consider to be normal. And a lot of our beliefs and even values come from there. So if you've had a really tough childhood and upbringing, parents never had any money, everything was a struggle. So that's kind of what you're bringing into who you are today, unless you do some reflecting and some self-work and twist that around. Does that make sense? Yeah?
Yes, it does. And what I was thinking when you were sharing that is, when we are born, we are blessed with a heart and a head, meaning a mother and a father, one who is heart-driven, one who is head-driven, mostly. And therefore, it creates influences that we have on our own lives. And what are your thoughts on single parenting? When you're raised by a single parent, where sometimes it is either only the head or it is only the heart, do you think that becomes their operating model when they are growing up? Or
I don't know. It's not so much the having the one parent, it's the environment. So you can grow up in a one parent family, but you've got a very supportive circle and network. So there's lots of love, there's lots of fun, there's lots of games, there's lots of laughter. That's very different than growing up with a single parent and there is no network, there is no support. Everything's a struggle. It's going to being shoved into daycare, or not having that richness sort of very early on. So it's not just our parents, it's the environment that we've been exposed to. And I think there's lessons in all of them. I know a lot of people that they've had a very hard upbringing, and that's motivated and driven them to create a better environment before they have children. So it depends. And then you see some people who, very privileged. And then if that's their normal, they don't realize they're privileged. And they bring this kind of entitlement into the world. And so there's good and bad in all of it. I think it's having awareness and appreciation that everybody is different. Everyone that you meet is going to be unique. So having that curiosity, discovering more about them, what's important to them, what motivates them, what makes them tick, what are their values, what's their dreams, what's their vision, what's the most courageous thing they've ever done. So, which all links back to you, Samir, you and your conversations, you ask those questions that go quite deep into people. And I think every conversation I have with you is like, I don't believe he got that out of me, because I never know where I'm going. So yeah, it's a big combination. How do we tap into it? I'd say, I'm a real advocate of mindfulness. In mBraining, we always start with getting into balance, getting into a coherent state. And you can do that quickly and easily by controlling your breath. So balanced breathing brings your focus into the present, into now, and helps you internalize and connect. So self-care is where everything starts. Whether that's... Go on.
What is the earliest age someone can do an mBraining course? Is it for children? Is it only for someone who's reached a certain level at their heart level?
There are some lovely books for kids. The Being Awesomely Me as well. So is another one. But I think mBraining for kids, one of my my mBraining coaches really focuses on kids and working with kids and getting them to, kids get stressed, they get upset, they get tearful, they get angry, and she has so many wonderful stories like, okay, and breathe. So getting them to breathe first, so breathe through whatever negative emotions are coming out, and then sort of changing their focus, or she's actually very experienced with NLP as well. Shift their attention, get them to focus on, what's really important right now. What does your heart say? So rather than your head jumping in and I want to beat him up, or I'm really cross, or I'm really hurt, all this narrative, it's okay, what does your heart want to do? What would make you happy right now? So it's shifting their focus, or just getting them to, okay, how important is this right now in the bigger scheme of things?
So here's another question that I'm just thinking of right now is with someone who has IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, where, they have an issue or some kind of a trauma. Do you think this alignment is something that would be the cure for it? Is it something, is there any evidence of mBraining helping or supporting the journeys of how they cure such ailments?
Yeah, I'm not going to say that, NLP or coaching or hypnosis or mBraining or any personal development can cure illness. I think you should always go in, if there's something wrong, seek medical attention, but have that awareness of what is it that I'm eating that's causing me to feel this way? Because mBraining is really about tapping into our own wisdom. I mean, deep down, we know what we need to do to be fit and healthy. We know what we need to do, and yet we don't do it. So we create our own bad habits, which causes dis-ease in the body. So I love the acronym that we use, that I learned from Grant Susalu, PAIN. Any pain, think of it as please acknowledge information now. So it's your body is communicating to you and sending you these messages, please acknowledge information now, and giving you pain to make you pay attention. So it's doing that inwards reflection. And I think, there's so much study around the gut and it links to a lot of dis-ease. A lot of the research links to different dis-eases. Dis-ease is created when there's something not right inside the body. So there is a big connection, but I'm not going to claim that, any coach is able to cure that. You need to be, get checked medically first. And I have to say, don't believe everything a doctor tells you. I'm sorry, but, at our head base, one of the biggest industries in the world today is medicine. So it is a money-making business. So, it's finding that balance. I know with me, with my bad back, I went through all of the painkillers, all of the treatments, and I was told to start considering alternative treatments. It was actually a chiropractor in the end that helped me. But yes. So keep searching, but stop and consider, what am I doing on a daily basis? I think Deepak Chopra's book, what's it called? It'll come to me any minute. But he gives, we're constantly reproducing ourselves. So, my body today is not the same body I had when I damaged my back. So if you have a stomach ulcer, I believe the lining of your stomach, the cells reproduce.
Regenerate?
Yeah, they regenerate or they replace themselves. I think it's every 3 months or something. So if you have a stomach ulcer longer than 3 months, it's something that you are doing to create that ulcer, rather than an ulcer forming. And then, if you if you've recreated your cells, then what is the reason for that ulcer to exist? So it must be something that we're doing or eating or how we are living life that's recreating that. So yeah, I think it's fascinating. Get curious and start asking questions and gathering more information. So have that open mind, but also take responsibility for it. It's your body. If it's not in tip-top position, tip-top working order, what are you doing that's causing that and creating that? So yeah, responsibility for us lies with you.
There was somebody who gave a very nice definition to negative self-talk, which is, you are the attacker and the attacked. You're both the victim and the perpetrator of
it's
the
like the
attack.
devil and the angel, isn't it? You've got your number one supporter, but no, you can't do that. You're not good enough, really, and it puts you down. Yeah. It's how do you control them? Are you using them effectively to be able to live your best life or not? Are they sort of blocking and stopping you? Yeah.
Just before we wrap up, one more idea or thought is coming to my mind, which is, as parents, if we bring in this awareness of the gut, the head and the heart, that they hold by themselves and that their child is also holding for themselves, how do they navigate this terrain of this awareness that there is a head, the heart, and the gut that is instrumental in every decision that we take, in everything that we do, and it has a role to play?
Mm-hmm.
From this state of awareness, what is it that parents can do to be, let's say, better parents or better facilitators of the child's nurturing?
I'm tempted to say, watch your baby breathe. If you look at a newborn baby, they breathe from their belly. So it's deep and even breathing. So if we can get ourselves back into that, deep and even breathing, we stop breathing properly. We take a breath and it's all head and shoulders. It's not sort of oxygenating our whole body. So get into rapport with your kids and just watch their belly when they sleep. It's very deep and even. I'd say, it's hard, isn't it? There's so much. I think for people who have a baby today, what does that baby need from you? How can you be your best self to be the best parent, to create the best environment? Best is competitive, isn't it? The most effective environment for your baby to learn and grow.
And how would they measure that for themselves? What would be their measure of effectiveness?
I see we've got some comments from Donna on the chat. I'm joining Donna later to do a talk on failing forward. I believe in feed forward. So stopping and thinking each and every day, what did I do well today? What could I do tomorrow to make that even better? So it's continuously having that awareness of the impact your behavior has on other people. We're continually learning and growing. I still throw tantrums. I still, I even swore a few times today. Something happened to you. It's like, I get frustrated, and yet I've got this huge toolbox of tools, but sometimes I just need to be human. So if connecting with your head, heart, and gut is going to help you tap into more wisdom and ultimately more happiness in your life, then check in with them.
You said sometimes I have to be human. So other times, what are you being?
Well, I think because I'm a coach, because I'm a trainer, because I teach these things, some people think that my world is nirvana. It's just wonderful. It's not. There is that human element as well. A few years ago, I had some really tough times, and I would literally every Friday morning, I would go to the beach and I would mBrain each and every issue in my life. How am I feeling about this right now? what's truly important to me, what other people are involved, and then up to the head, get creative. What are all the options and possibilities that I can think of that could help? And then check realigning with the values, which of those would best fit, and then drop down to the gut. And I'd literally just action point, action point, action point. So I'd literally create a to-do list. Did it solve each issue? No, but it kept me moving forward. And if you get some actions or get some thoughts around it where you are sort of moving yourself forwards, you can then park it. So it's like, okay, right, here's my to-do list for Sunday morning, or Monday morning as it is now. And so, you know, I can park it. I can enjoy the rest of the weekend. But it's also hang out with people that energize you and fill you up. I think surround yourself with people that lift you up and make you feel good. That's another one. Yeah. Be selective. Yeah.
Your mBraining programs, is it delivered online or is it offline?
Okay, because of the wisdoming aspect of it, and because it's coaching, I'm teaching coaches how to use this. I'm teaching leaders. I'm teaching parents. I'm teaching teachers. So online, you can only see my head and shoulders. So you have no idea when I'm talking if I'm making gestures to my gut, if I'm sort of shaking my legs or wiggling my toes. We miss a lot of communication. So with that in mind, the mBraining coach certification program has to be in person. So it's a 4-day program. The next dates are May 22nd to 25th here in Dubai. And I've also got an NLP program coming up in June. So if people are interested, please reach out to me and I'll happily share details. So yes, it's definitely in person.
How can they reach out to you? How can they reach out to you?
All right, email me, wendy@mbrain.me. You can search me on LinkedIn, is the most descriptive, gives you an idea of my variety. Find me on Facebook. Samir, I'm connected with you on your social media. So if you're connected with Samir, search his friends and find me.
Yes. When you said, one of my key takeaways while we were listening and sharing over here, when you said to parents to watch their breath, what I really was summarizing in a way of the whole session is to slow down, to slow down and to watch yourself, watch who you are, how you are, what's important to you, what your values are. And I think it's the process of the madness that we are in, which is making us escape all the realities of what truly is there that we are not able to see for ourselves. And the moment we start slowing down, what will happen for us is we'll start getting more connected with our brain, with our head, with our heart, with our gut. And we'll start, like you said, even the Audis, it took you 3 days to realize that you're now hungry. I mean, until that point of time, you're not hungry. So slowing down in terms of even that, is actually what will actually reconnect us with ourselves. And I think that's a very powerful message for all of us over here. So thank you so much, Wendy.
Be present.
Yeah.
Engage with who's in front of you right now, because that's the most important thing. So Samir, you are the most important thing to me right now. Congratulations.
Yeah. You are too for me right now. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Wendy. It's been, as always, a wonderful pleasure to be with you over here. Till we meet again, till we connect again. Have a wonderful day ahead.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Samir. Bye.
Bye-bye.